obviously, this was another big one.
I watched the game last night. He was a pain in the dick. I don't think they would have won without him. I think this is a home run deal for the New York Rangers. And Chris Drury was on the hot seat. I was counting down the days until he got fired. I really think he saved his job here. I really do. Because when you really boil it down in totality, if you're going to replace Jacob Trouba's $8 million with somebody, this is an upgrade. It just is. It just is. And now they can go Miller, Trocheck, and I guess they've been using Zibanejad on the same line, but those are your three centers.
Yep.
JT Miller is truly a play driving center. I mean, he had over 100 points 2 years ago. To add just a prick too. I mean, the vibes were so down in New York. This is one of those guys that drags you into the fight. I mean, truly.
Yeah. So, Canucks fans loved him.
I think the most disturbing part of this trade is, like, what did Vancouver really get here? Like, they didn't get anything. And I like Hedl. Don't get me wrong. I think Hedl can play.
Yep.
But he's an enormous risk with the amount of head injuries he's had over the last year or so. Like, we're talking about a guy, he's missed a ton of time, multiple concussions, can't stay on the ice. Like, if he stays healthy, he'll be a useful piece for them.
Yep.
But how can you take that as your only real return here when he's had so many head injuries?
I don't know.
And they give away the first round pick within minutes of getting it for Marcus Pettersson, who's a 5. I mean, on a Stanley Cup winning team, is Marcus Pettersson higher than a 5?
I don't think so, personally. I think it was Jay Fresh. I'll pull that up too, but no player in the NHL has gotten hit more times than Marcus Pettersson made his debut.
He's not bad. Don't get me wrong. He's not a bad player. But I swear, I'm pretty convinced they only made this trade so that they could have 3 Petterssons on the team.
That's what it seems like for now.
like, did you only make this trade so that you could have all of the Petterssons in the league? Because otherwise, it doesn't make any sense.
It's ridiculous. Here, I'll get the Jay Fresh card. You have it there. Yeah. Good numbers, but obviously there's some serious red ones there too.
But he's not going to give you much offensively. He can kind of move the puck. He can kind of play defense. But he's not more than a 4 or 5 on a good D-core.
Yeah.
How is that the return? How is that the return for JT Miller? And I understand, like, they're saying, oh, well, he's locked up for a long time. We think this contract could come back to bite us eventually. Maybe that's true. Maybe that's true. But the cap's going way up to where his $8 million 3 years from now, it's really like a $5 million contract. So
it's not going to sting them.
And here's the other craziest part of it, where Vancouver's like, oh, well, we had to make this trade happen. Well, the Rangers had to make something happen too. Like, the Rangers are the ones sitting there with all the bad vibes. They got rid of Trouba. They got rid of Kakko. They have all this cap space. They got to use it on somebody. They're begging for one of these guys to come to their team, and you just handed them to them.
Yep.
It all stems from poor leadership. All of this stems from poor leadership. Like, okay, maybe they get along, maybe they don't. What are you putting all this out in the media for? I mean, Rutherford and Alvin, every fucking 2 days, they're like, oh, here's an update. We don't really see a solution. They're not getting it. What are you telling the media all this for?
That's unbelievable. I don't know how a team
horrible leadership
smart doing that.
Just the way those two guys run their team, they should automatically be fired, regardless of if you agree with the trade or not. Even if you don't hate the trade from a Vancouver perspective, the leadership by that front office absolutely disgusting. I mean, absolutely disgusting, where they're constantly talking to the media. Oh, well, we don't think this is going to work out. We're going to have to move. What are you saying anything for? Bad. I think it was just the way it was handled was really, really bad.
From day one, it was terrible. And like you said earlier, I mean, I'll give Chris Drury some credit here. He did not beat himself. Obviously, we saw Carolina made their swing with Rantanen. It didn't seem like Jersey or Dallas was really that interested. And he knew that. He was the only one at the table. And I think
I can't believe the Bruins
got good value. Yeah, that's a whole other conversation. But yeah, it was a very good deal for the Rangers.
And this is the real problem with the way the Canucks handled it. Okay, they don't get along. What happens if Quinn Hughes is upset? You going to trade him too? Like, you've now started to tear down your team. Last year, by the way, that team could have won it. Like, you make a couple tweaks here, a couple tweaks there. They had the Oilers on the fucking ropes. They could have won the cup. You had a couple D to that team last year. Maybe if they had the Bruss the year before. I mean, they could have won it last year.
Absolutely.
And they ruined their whole team.
They're in no man's land now. And I think if Elias Pettersson doesn't show something, I think they might just run him out of town too, because obviously I don't even know what they're thinking.
So you trade Miller because he doesn't get along with Pettersson, and then you decide, well, we don't like Pettersson either.
He's a unicorn. I don't know how you trade a unicorn out of your building.
I think Quinn Hughes is the unicorn. I mean, yeah, to find D that can handle that many minutes and to post that kind of offensive production. I mean, Quinn Hughes is carrying them.
They'd be with Chicago if it wasn't for him.
When you make trades like that, you run those people out of town, transitive property wise, and that's coming.
It's going to be interesting this summer. I mean, I guess maybe they crawl into the playoffs and are a first round exit, but then what are you really doing then?
I don't see him crawling in. I think Calgary's going to get the last spot.
I agree. I
think the Rangers now have a chance.
Yeah, I mean, that wild card race is still, it's still anyone's guess. I mean, obviously, we might see a team like Tampa miss for the first time in forever, or obviously the Bruins or whoever, but I like that deal for the Rangers as much as it pains me to say. He fits in, these guys, Panarin, Fox, obviously Zibanejad's been terrible, but they still have Kreider. Like, these guys, they're still trying to make a push and, get a cup, and he fits in with their timeline, and obviously – they're not really caring about what things look like 3 years from now.
Yeah, I don't even need to say anything like this. By the way, with the cap going up, it's going to be harder for these Canadian teams to catch up because of the tax situation.
Yep.
The more money, the more tax disparity it's going to be. To just actively tear your team down like that. You've given Quinn Hughes no reason to say, you know what? I know I'm going to get screwed on the taxes a little bit, but I really like it here, and we have a chance to win. You've thrown that out the window.
Nope. And captain of Team USA, last night's game in Vancouver, fans are booing the U.S. national anthem. I don't think that really – I don't know what kind of thoughts that puts in his head, too.